Hey, Amie,
Yeah, Juan.
give me that beat.
It's Baseball Shangri-La with Amie Cuevas and Juan Ramirez.
What's up, party people? She is Amie Cuevas. I am Juan Ramirez. You are listening or watching Baseball Shangri-La. If you are listening to us on the audio portion of the show, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. Rate us, write us a review, help spread the word, and let everybody know to come join the party. If you are watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Hit that notification button. Give us a thumbs up. Leave us comments. We love engaging with you. And if you are following us on social media, make sure you're following us on X at BB Shangri-La, on Instagram, YouTube, and Bluesky at Baseball Shangri-La. Amie, ¿cómo estás?
Hi.
Hi.
It's Monday. We're back to recording on a Monday again.
We're back to Mondays, ladies and gentlemen. So at the time we are recording this, the Dodgers are playing the Nacionales, and if I'm seeing this correctly, they are losing.
I didn't know. I wasn't looking.
I'm not going to give you the score or what inning it is, but it is the game's not over yet. So let's see if they can get into the Nacional's bullpen and pull out a win. But other than that, Amie, do you want to address any comments from the comments corner before we get started? Because we got a jam-packed show. There's a lot of stuff that we got to talk about.
Yes, I did have a base running blender, and Simply Brandy 23 pointed out it was Yamamoto and Barnes who were not there for the ring ceremony, not Will Smith. So I couldn't remember, everything blurred together. So thank you for helping clarify that. So sorry, buddy, we're back to 0.
All right, that's okay. We got to start a new streak. Any other comments you want to address?
It looked like there was just a lot of love for Val Kilmer, and we're going to get to Jose Ayala's comment about Pajes. So,
yeah, I think Andy Pajes is going to come up on the show. So let's talk some baseball, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get things started with a pleasant good evening to you, wherever you may be. Amie, before we talk about the Dodgers and the Phillies of Philadelphia series, last time we recorded on the night of the bobblehead, that the Unicorns bobblehead. And so we started recording. We finished recording right when the game had started. There was a very interesting ending to that game, right, Amie?
Yeah, because we actually ended as Tommy Edman hit a home run. And then Shohei Ohtani hit a walk-off home run, because why wouldn't he on his bobblehead night? And I don't know if you saw, but they've introduced a new celebration where they're doing the pull across the eyes.
Okay, so let me ask you this new celebration that they're doing. What is the explanation that you heard? I want to see if it's the same one that I heard as to the reason why they're doing it.
They're mocking one of his, I think it's a cologne commercial, and
Okay.
like in the commercial he's like pulling it across his face. So now they're poking fun at him, and they're now all doing that. And so you'll see various versions of it as players are either rounding, extra base hits, home runs. It feels like they're doing it. And then when he hit the walk-off home run, to be a good sport, he also did the pull across the eyes.
Okay, that's the same explanation that I heard. But yeah, so as we were watching, my daughter and I were watching the game. The extra inning came, and I looked at her and I said, well, he's going to hit a home run to end this game. And what was crazy, Amie, was I feel like he hit that ball off the end of the bat, and it went out to almost straightaway center. So to me, the Unicorn again just he does amazing things, and I can throw out all the compliments I want on him. And look, I still love watching him play, but this Philadelphia Phillies series was pretty interesting. Is there anything else you want to add about the Unicorns walk-off bobblehead that made everybody go crazy before
No,
we
I
get
mean,
into this Phillies series?
he just saved us from extra innings, really, and just made a production out of it instead. So we didn't have to see any ghost runners or anything like that. No, just typical Shohei. So yeah.
Shohei's going to Shohei. Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Exactly.
Cool deal. All right. Well, let's talk about what happened in Philadelphia then. Before we talk about what happened in Philly, do you want to go over updates before that Philly series, or you just want to go into what stood out for you in
Um,
this series?
yeah, so actually we have a Bryce Harper comment that preceded the series, and then maybe some updates, and then go over the recap. But did you catch Bryce Harper's presser before the game?
I did catch Bryce Harper's comment there. Go ahead.
So, asked by media, what he thinks about the Dodgers. Obviously, this is still a narrative that's on people's minds about the Dodgers ruining baseball. And his answer was that he didn't think people would like it, but he feels like only losers complain about what the Dodgers are doing. I think they're a great team, a great organization, and that's why guys want to go there and play. And so it almost feels like it's the same thing that people have been saying, but to hear it from, a higher profile player on another team just lends itself to this is what players are thinking about this as well.
That's a competitor to me. You know,
Mhm.
that is someone, okay, yeah, whatever, this team is loaded, but we are, we can compete. I know nobody wants to hear this, but after what happened this weekend, I think that Philadelphia Phillies team is pretty equal to that Dodger team, and
You already said it before the season started. This is who we need to watch out for.
I did say it, but nobody gives me credit for anything I
I
say, Amy.
just gave you
Except
credit.
for my homie Roland. Roland, I feel you. Roland, our viewer, our listener, Roland, our listener.
What am
We'll get
I?
into it
Chopped
later.
liver? Am I
No.
chopped liver?
I said thank you, but you're my co-host. I separate you from the listeners.
Wow.
Don't get
Okay.
mad. It's
I'm just
okay.
gonna I'm
Don't
just
get
gonna
mad.
sparkle
Oh my
over
gosh,
here.
is this our first fight? How
It
cute,
is.
huh?
It
This
is.
is our first fight. All right.
You guys witnessed it. Like I just doesn't matter what I say.
But
Like
look, my hat's off to him because that is a competitor who's not going to give in, who's not going to be sit. And this, to me, we need more of this. I feel like we need more people saying what Bryce Harper is like. All right, look, they're conducting business the way they're conducting. We can still beat them. And that's
mhm.
the thing. It's like I feel like that Phillies team feels like they can beat the Dodgers.
And did.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
but with that in like, but I feel like it not we don't need an ambassador, but we need these player voices because that CBA is just around the corner. That collective bargaining agreement, the expiration of it, it's just going to be next year, and we're like that it's going to impact all of baseball. So if the owners have their way, they're going to be starting to make some of those changes so we can if we can get more of those players' voices heard ahead of time with something that impacts all of them. It doesn't just impact people who are coming to play for the Dodgers. I think that's so important. So I think what he said was really impactful, and like you said, I think we need to hear more of it.
Absolutely. Anything else you want to add about Bryce Harper?
No.
All right, let's get into the series. The actual, so, ladies and gentlemen, breaking news: the Dodgers have lost their first series of the season. Not only have they lost their first series of the season, they got their first loss. So there will be no 162-0. So the no undefeated season. I know a lot of you were secretly hoping this was going to happen.
Were you curled up in a ball in a corner crying,
Absolutely not.
rocking back and forth?
You know why? And I'll tell you this. So this past weekend, I was in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. I was in Portland and I was in Seattle, and I was rocking my Dodger hat in Portland. And there was a guy who goes up to me. He goes, "Oh, you must be on top of the world right now, right?" And I was just like, "Yeah." And it was the day. It was the first game of the series against the Phillies. They had just lost, and I was like, "Well, they got their first loss today." And then he was just like, "It must be really good to be a Dodger fan." And I'm like, "Yeah, but here's the thing that I feel like nobody truly understands, and that is it's not guaranteed. All you guys who aren't Dodger fans keep walking up to me assuming that the Dodgers are going to win the World Series, and that is just not how baseball works. What cracked me up was this guy was wearing a Blazers beanie. That was his basketball team. So I asked him, "Well, who's your baseball team?" Because there is no baseball team in Portland. So I thought he was going to say Mariners because of how close Seattle is. And he was like, "No, I'm a Diamondbacks fan, actually." And I was like, "Well, how did you become a Diamondbacks fan?" "Well, I used to work in Arizona, and that's when I got into baseball. So that's how he became a Diamondbacks fan." So what I was telling him, I was like, look, what really concerns me is injuries with this team. And that is, I know last year they were able to overcome the injuries, but I feel that's asking a lot that every year you have to overcome injuries to win a championship. And so when I was telling him this, he looks at me, he goes, "Oh, you're that kind of fan, huh?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "You can't enjoy it, can you, man? You're miserable even when they're winning."
Preach, person I
And
don't
I was
know.
just like, I'm not miserable. I enjoy watching the games. But what I want to address is everybody that walks up to me and goes, "Oh man, that the Dodgers already have it in the bag." And it's just like, no, that's not how baseball works. And if you watch this series, like I wish he would have talked to me on Sunday, because then I could have told him Exhibit A.
What,
There
you want to
is
prove that they were bad?
not that because honestly, I don't think that yeah, they did not play great this weekend. But this series, I just feel like these teams are evenly matched, because very easily the Dodgers could have swept this series. But at that same token, they could have gotten swept this series by the Phillies. And that's how close these teams are. And what's going to differentiate this, I know what's coming. So let me just finish, because I know what you're going to say. But the difference is going to be the team that makes the most mistakes. That's how they're going to lose. And if you look at how the Dodgers played, they lost they had every opportunity to win that game on Friday. They lost, poor base running, poor defense. Up until this point, defensively, the Dodgers had been pretty good this season. This past weekend, they did not play well defensively. Sunday's game, they could have won Sunday's game, but look, now we're gonna get into Andy Pages later on,
I was
but I'm
just
just
gonna
gonna
say, we just had a game though where like Roki Sasaki just got 5 unearned, or no, Blake Snell got 5 unearned runs because of the defense. So it's
right.
not just, but it's not just in the Phillies series. That was against the Braves.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so it goes further
They're
back.
they're
It goes
they're
further back than that. Then.
they're trying. The season just started. They're still figuring stuff out.
So yeah, that was my thing. Is from that, and like you said, thank you for pointing that out. What I had said was the Phillies are a team that I would keep an eye out. If you look now, this season and last season, the Dodgers are 1-5 in Philadelphia when they're playing in Philadelphia. Okay, so obviously, I think this Phillies team either knows how to pitch the Dodgers, they are competitive against them. We were just talking about how great the Unicorn is. The Unicorn went 1 for 11 against the Phillies,
Well,
right?
and if anybody doesn't think that they're not watching tape on the Unicorn on Shohei Ohtani, then I would say you're crazy, because that's going to be the guy that they want. They want to bring down that atmosphere, those vibes. And they're going to start doing that by not only getting the leadoff hitter, but also the fact that it's Shohei Ohtani. Oh, wisdom lost. Oh my gosh. What did you just say?
I said nothing. I'm about to say it right now. Jesus Luzardo, who was a pitcher I would have loved for the Dodgers to be able to get. And when the Phillies got him from the Marlins of Miami, I was like, damn, man, because that guy is good. And you saw it on Friday. He was just mowing the Dodgers down. And that's concerning to me, because those Philly, I mean, I know they were able to hit Nola a little bit to win that second game. They didn't see Wheeler this weekend, but you see them in a series. You're going to get Wheeler, Luzardo, and Nola. That's a pretty formidable pitching trio there that the Dodgers are going to get. And I mean, we'll get into some of these other, like Glasnow didn't look good. There's many different reasons that I'm sure you can go into as to why Glasnow didn't look good. But my initial thoughts on this series, Amy, is these are two evenly matched teams. And the Dodgers, the last 2 years, have not looked good in Philadelphia. And so if they don't have home field in the playoffs and they got to go to Philadelphia, this is going to be a battle for them.
They've got quite a few months to figure it out. I would say too that a lot of these games were decided on home runs, and the fact that quite a few of those home runs would have gone or a few of those hits, I should say, would have actually gone out in Dodger Stadium. It's unfortunate. It doesn't change the course of the game because those are the dimensions of the ballpark. But to your point, like they don't play as well in Philadelphia. That could be a contributing factor. They also didn't have Freddie Freeman again. So he got moved on Thursday to the 10-day IL. They retroactively moved him back to March 31st. Hunter Fiducia got called up. We didn't see him this weekend. And then in the course over the series, Matt Sauer got recalled because Blake Snell went on the IL retroactive to April 3rd. He's got some left shoulder inflammation. He had some soreness while he was throwing his bullpen, sorry, on Sunday. And he's set to miss at least 2 starts. So they did say that soreness started about 3 weeks ago. His thoughts were that he could pitch through it. He has had an MRI. There's no structural damage. They're hoping that it'll be a short IL stint, but he is also meeting with Dr. Elatrash, who was on this road trip with them. They're going to try to determine a plan, and that may include injections or not. So some of their core people, we've got a lot of movement on the team right now, and people still trying to get used to just the regular season starting, and you've got a lot of moving pieces. Oh my God, Wisdom twice lost. Mute.
A couple of things. One, what do you want to set the over under on at bats for Fiducia while he's up? Because I think it's becoming this growing trend where they call up Fiducia and he never plays or he never gets at bats. Do you want to set it at 10 or do you think 10 is too high?
10 for the season?
No, for this stint, because the Federico IL stint is only 10 days. And it was retroactive. So if he's okay, he's going to be back pretty soon, more than likely when they come back to Los Angeles. So if that's the case, they're going to have to make a move, and more than likely it's Fiducia going back down. So should we set it at 5? 5 at bats between
I was
now?
going to say 10 sounds optimistic.
Right? So 10 is too high. Should we set it at 5?
Let's set it at 5.
All right,
Okay.
you going over or under?
I'll take the optimistic. I'll go more than 5.
All right, I'm going under. 5 at bats. We're talking about at bats for Fiducia while he's up here because that's a new thing. Regarding the Blake Snell thing, I don't know. These are updates as of today in the pregame scrum, so I don't know if you saw them. Amie, did you see them on?
I've been at work all day,
Okay.
so go for it.
So David Vassay said that it's probably going to be a minimum of at least 2 starts that Blake Snell is going to miss.
That's what I said.
Oh, never mind then. I'm a loser. I'm a pair. I'm a pair.
So all of this about nobody listens to you and gives you credit.
I just sit here and go blah blah blah. My line. Blah blah blah. My line.
I'm over here thinking about what I say and my implications and what you say. Wow, it's really hard on this side of the screen.
Okay, so I had some of our listeners reach out to me immediately when they saw the Blake Snell news, rolling their eyes, and I'm just like, guys, come on, really? I mean, did we know that these pitchers are all going to get hurt during the stint?
What is your quote about past injury?
Yeah, the greatest indicator of future injury is past injury. Now, I don't know necessarily if Blake Snell
missed the beginning of last season too, even after his late start.
But that one, I think you can attribute to the fact that he got into spring training late because he signed late. And the thing is historically, he's not very good at the beginning of the season. Like he doesn't pitch well at the beginning of the season. Of course, the hope is that it's going to be maybe something like Yamamoto, where if he's out for a while and then can come back during the stretch run and he'll be like healthy. But I'm not surprised by this. And look, you have to be thankful. I know there are reports. Now, Landon Knack was up here because of the White House visit in Washington. They've already announced that Robleski is going to pitch in Washington, and he's taking Blake Snell's start. Now, there are rumors.
Even with the rotation the way it's going, they still needed a bullpen game to hit that 6-day rotation.
So the indicator is perhaps maybe Landon Knack is going to pitch on Wednesday, but we don't know. Nothing's been confirmed. But that's the thing. It's like, okay, you have your Blake Snell goes down, and you have guys like Robleski, you have guys like Landon Neck, you still have Bobby Miller down in the minors, like so you still have people that you can turn to. The worst problem would be is if you didn't have anybody that you can turn to when Blake Snell goes down. So, yeah, I mean, look, the injuries to me now is just after what happened last year, Amy, I don't think I can justifiably complain about injuries because I thought there's no way they're going to win last year with all the injuries and they found a way to win. So I have to firmly believe because these guys always prove me wrong that even if there's injuries this year, they will find a way to win. Now, last year they didn't have to go against the Phillies in the playoffs. What is going to make me nervous is if they go against the Phillies in the play, if they see the Phillies in the playoffs this year, because I mean, the way they like I said, they were close. They could have gone either way. So
That's a baseball.
that's right.
I guess that's where I'm not going to borrow trouble. Like I know that there are a lot of people who we all fan differently. And some people will look forward to like, oh gosh, I hope they can pull this out in Philadelphia the next time we play them or when Philadelphia comes here. And for me, it's more that, what are you going to do about it? Like, I have enough on my plate right now where it's just like, all right, when we play them next time, hopefully we have a better outcome. We both fan differently, where it's just like, all right, what's the next series that we're getting to? All right, cool. We're going to be playing the Nationals. Let's hope we beat them. So.
No, look, I'm not going to. It's not full panic in April, ladies and gentlemen. Please make sure that you guys understand me. Okay.
Oh, thank God. Okay, I've been a little worried about you.
I said this in the off season, and Amy again pointed it out that I've been saying this is a team to keep an eye on when it comes to the National League in terms of who's going to end up with the best record. And because look, let me remind everybody at the time we are recording this, the Dodgers are in second place in their division.
Yeah, with the way it shakes out, yeah, the Giants.
The Giants of San Francisco. So
what I'm hearing is we actually have a competitive NL West minus the Rockies this year.
Well, at least this year, I mean, at the start of this season, yeah, for right now, and maybe that's good, because then that way there's no complacency. It's like we got to keep playing well. I just feel like all this talk. And we get caught up on it. Well, the Dodgers are buying a championship, or the Dodgers are never going to lose a game. It's like, guys, let's not forget there is a Philadelphia Phillies team out there that is a pretty good team.
I think so many things can be true at once, though. Like it is a good reminder to the rest of the league that we didn't go in 2023. The Rangers and the Diamondbacks went. And I don't know how many people actually had that on their bingo card outside of like Las Vegas. So with that in mind, we've already proven you can't buy a championship. I think we've beat that dead horse to death. There's just a lot of people who are not listening, and that's fine. To each their own. I don't want to take credit away from the Phillies for this series, but I will say that there were two things at play. While the Phillies are a good team and they are definitely somebody to watch every time we play them, the Dodgers didn't do themselves any favors. They also lost to themselves on many instances. That first game, you had Pages that got caught stealing. Shohei, you end the game with CT3 coming into pinch run. He didn't even hit. And then, he goes because that pitcher is known for having a little bit longer of a release, and he gets thrown out and it ends the game. Like a lot, where I was at, people were shouting at the brewery, why did Shohei even run on,
those are mental mistakes. Those are mental mistakes. And it goes back to, and maybe you're right. Maybe this sloppy play goes further back than just this series. But it's the base running and the defense. That's what's costing them these losses, which are two. Again, to be clear, there is no panic. Okay, they've lost 2 games.
And they could have won yesterday, but pitching. But you can't have the offense and the pitching kind of like at the same time. So we had defensive challenges, at least on Sunday's game, plus the pitching challenges. And then while the offense was actually firing on all cylinders, it was just too much to overcome. And the fact that they overcame it twice is pretty stellar, I think, considering who they were playing against and the conditions that they were in. So again, not to take anything away from the Phillies, but the Dodgers have been kind of, in the instances where games are turning, it's not necessarily the other team every time, it is themselves. And this is where I'm not trying to, like, I don't want to go anti-panic or panic, but it's like these are some of the things that they do need to work out, and we want them to work out at the beginning of the season versus later on. We're going to get into Pages a little bit more in a second, but even Shohei and CT3, it's almost like, guys, what, I don't know if did they get the green light? Were they told, to run? I don't know. We don't know what's happening on the field because we get that one view on the TV, and they're not going to open it up to all that stuff. But with that in mind, you do end up having people screaming at TVs. It is harder to get behind, like, wait, we lost the game on a pinch runner stealing and getting caught. Like, those are painful things to lose on, especially when both games were so close. Like, it's not easy to watch.
The same way that you could argue the Dodgers could have swept the Phillies, it's the other way around. The Phillies could have swept the Dodgers. You mentioned Andy Pages. Andy
Let's
Pages,
get into it.
and I mean, you mentioned two names there. It seems that Andy Pages now is starting to get the Chris Taylor treatment. What I had mentioned earlier in terms
And
of that,
in today's current game, this is the first time he's not starting. So,
I mean,
in Monday afternoon.
they said it was a scheduled day off. So I know as much as people want to sit there and say maybe it's a response to the way he's been playing because he ran into an out in the Philadelphia series again.
Well,
I will say this: he's getting a lot of grief about that ball that Bryce Harper hit in Sunday's game, and I think that ball was still going to be a double regardless, but the way he played that ball, he did himself no favors because it really looked like he didn't know. Like he did not know how he turned around 3 different times. So it looked like it's like, dude, do you know how to play the position? And center field is a very important position, right? And I mean, constantly he's being criticized for the routes that he's taking on balls. If this is a situation like, remember when Kiké was struggling and all of a sudden he showed up with glasses and he was a different player? If Andy Pages is not picking up the ball, it's either maybe Andy Pages isn't a center fielder, or maybe Andy Pages needs glasses, to pick up the ball.
I mean, weirder things have happened. I don't want to pile on the guy. Like, this is just his sophomore season in the show. Like, I cannot even imagine the pressure that he's under. Also knowing typically what happens in that second year, people are going to see him better. They know how to attack him better. It's just unfortunate because a lot of the stuff that people are seeing, it feels like it's preventable. It's like the growing pains. You would hope that some of that stuff happens more in the minors where, we saw him last week blow through a stop sign, challenges we had last season with him. And then now you're seeing the catch where he's not really communicating out in the outfield, where that probably should have gone to Teo. I don't know who was calling for it. It looked like that needed to go to him. You see Teo on the next play, catch that ball, make that stellar play, throw to first, and that saves a run at the plate because he beat out, I think it was Real Muto. So it's some of those things where, like, that delay, that second guessing, or just not being fully in the moment, that has repercussions. Because if maybe Theo gets to that ball before Pages, do we have an out sooner? Do we have a little bit easier route of getting out of that inning? And are you paying attention? Are you in the moment?
Yeah, it's and the funny thing is, Amy, we're talking about his base running and his defense. We're not even talking about the fact that he's hitting under 100. Like
Oh, yeah.
it's Chris Taylor territory, right? And I get
Mhm.
it. It is still very early in the season, and the fans are already on him. But I am curious if the Dodgers are. I mean, usually I feel you give it 2 months, right? You give it 2 months, and you start to identify where are your weaknesses, and then at that point you start realizing, okay, do we have in-house solutions for our weaknesses?
Well,
And
and
so
I think if it was just the hitting alone, he might get a little bit more grace period, because he hit his first single yesterday, and I think I was looking back through my notes. He'd had two balls, and I forget the other. He got on another way, but like before that, it's a lot of flyouts, it's a lot of strikeouts. Granted, he is running up the pitch count when he is striking out, so at least he's kind of giving it to the pitcher on the mound. But if it was just the offense, I don't know that he would be getting as much grief. But the offense coupled with some of the mistakes we're seeing, I think that it makes it a little bit more glaring, and I think people are giving him a little bit harder time on that.
He's definitely early in this season has become a target of Dodger fans. All right, let's do a little bit of a palate cleanser, ladies and gentlemen. I know we spent time on the struggles of Andy Pages, but Roki Sasaki on Saturday, game
Sasaki.
2. Oh, Sasaki, I'm sorry. Thank you for the correction right there.
Go back, go back.
In game 2, looked better. He looked better, believe it or not. So why are you laughing at me?
I just the comments that I saw online, and it makes me laugh because he was not brought over to be I think I read somewhere like he wasn't brought over to be the Dodgers ace. Like he was brought over to hopefully stay up and work out the kinks and not necessarily have to do it in the minors. And I think he's proving that he can do that. But like we have other starters, like he's not going to be perfect out the gate. And I think it's just a reminder to give these guys some grace. Like it's only his second like big league game.
Third.
That's right. He pitched in Japan, but
that was his third big league game. But like I said, he looked better. Now the real question, and this is, I think, what differentiates whether you're going to be a major leaguer for a while or it's going to be short lived, is consistency. You have to now become consistent. And that's usually what ends up getting these guys who are great for 1 year and then the next year, it's like, what happened to them? So will he be able to build on this? I know there was this belief with the fact with Tony Gonsolin rehabbing that it was like, okay, well, now he's going to be, Roki's going to get sent down and be able to work on whatever he needs to work on. The Blake Snell injury, I think, makes things a little interesting. But I think every time he has, and to me, the most important thing was he limited the number of walks, right? He wasn't walking people at the alarming rate.
2 batters.
Yeah, at the alarming rate that he walked the other two in the other 2 starts. And so I think when he makes these kind of starts, I think he buys himself another 2 starts, right? It's if every time he goes out there, he's having this clunker, sooner or later, you have a responsibility to the rest of the team. You can't keep putting the team on, behind the 8 ball, right? Sooner or later, you have to go ahead and address it. I am just curious with the Blake Snell injury, if that changes any plans or, what's going to happen. But you have to be encouraged that quickly after 2 games, he was able to make an adjustment like that quickly.
Which is what he said, like that, like he knows what he has to do, like he's willing to put in the work. I think it's interesting because sometimes it is consistency. He even said it's hard to make the adjustments when you're throwing a bullpen because you don't really get to see how it plays out until you're in a game. You need that real life like competitive edge. And that's the same thing we saw and I think even heard from like Walker Buehler and Bobby Miller last year. They both struggled. And they needed multiple games because you identify one thing. Oh, you know what? I'm not stepping far enough on the mound, or I'm stepping too far, or I'm doing this. You need another game to actually get the feel of that versus just a bullpen where you're throwing X amount of pitches and it's not the game's not on the line. So some of the stuff, it is going to need to play out in real time. And this is where I think the Dodgers having so much depth bites them when it comes to like fans and I guess giving people grace because another team doesn't have this luxury. If your pitcher's not pitching well, he's still going to go out there and pitch. We just happen to have a lot more options on the Dodgers where it's like, oh my gosh, he's not pitching well. Well, we should send him down. Like, oh, okay. I don't think other teams are doing that, but cool. Like, I wouldn't hit the panic button on him just yet.
A shout out I want to give is to the bullpen. Because many times the bullpen is put in a position where they have to be perfect. And for the most part, they come pretty close to perfect. So when they have hiccups now and then, I think it's forgivable. Like clearly the weather conditions were bothering Tyler Glasnow in Sunday's game. Like he was struggling on the mound. There was something I think that was really impacting him. But for the
I mean,
bull,
mentally, he said like he just couldn't get past that. And I don't know if you heard, like he doesn't have to pitch in those conditions very often. Coming from where he came from, they were in a dome. That weather didn't really impact him, and he's been in California for the last year. Not really a lot of bad weather. So if he's had the luxury of not having games that where he's pitching on those days where it's inclement weather, I mean, I guess it would put you at a little bit of a disadvantage. And to his credit, it's not an excuse, and he said that, but it's still just I can see where he got in his head on that.
so are you saying that maybe this might become an issue if he was pitching on the East Coast, let's say in a month where there would be inclement weather?
It's definitely something to look out for. Maybe we might want to simulate some muddy mound conditions and get him some practice.
So maybe like in October in Philadelphia, you would be concerned.
I mean, maybe, but I also, as a pitcher, I might ask for the grounds crew to come out and pack the dirt a little bit more the next time.
Well, I
The
think they were trying. But I think it's very.
but if he shook him off because he doesn't have that experience, and now hindsight, he even said in his presser, like maybe he would have taken advantage of the grounds crew after the fact. Well, yeah, it's easy to say that now, but I mean, in that moment, he didn't make that choice, and now he at least knows going forward he can do that.
Yeah, and again, like I said, my hat's off to the bullpen because they kept them in that game on Sunday and gave them every opportunity to actually steal that game. But the defense let Blake Trinan down in that inning, and that ended up being the difference in the game. So, maybe it's a good thing that it came this early in the season, and maybe it'll level everybody's expectations to be like, yeah, they're not going to go undefeated. They're not going to set records with the
Well,
amount of wins.
and even
Yeah.
the 162 and 0, like joking as it is, that still puts a lot of pressure on people who are human. And these guys are pretty close knit and they can accomplish a lot together as a team, but they're still human. They're still individuals trying to do their best. And one cog doesn't have a good day. Like we can see that threw everything off. We also saw that last season. I think didn't Walker Buehler have a couple starts where like gave up like 4 or 5 runs right in the first inning?
Oh yeah.
It was either Walker or Bobby Miller or both, where it was just like, ugh. And we saw that in the third inning. Those 5 runs came in right away. I'm 6. I'm trying to see where I started with my 6, like one right after another. And it's hard to overcome that. And they still almost did.
Exactly. So that's got to be very, very encouraging. I think it's the first time this season they were punched in the face, and I think that's good. I
Mhm.
think it is a good thing, and it's still very early in the season. It's like you said, they they're not playing their best baseball, and you don't want them to play their best baseball at the beginning of the season. They got things that they need to work on and figure out for the rest of the season. But I think it's a healthy, good, like, hey, there's a team out here who believes they can beat you. So there's no givens here.
I think the Dodgers are very aware that they have a target on their back, Philadelphia or not. And for everybody who does need like an extra just note of reassurance, they're still 9-2. The season is early. Like it's gonna be okay. Like let's enjoy baseball. We don't even know, like let's enjoy it.
No, look, I enjoy. I thought that game on Friday was a great game. And the same thing on Saturday. I thought those were two really well pitched games, so it was very enjoyable. It's just getting caught up in the narratives about this team is a juggernaut, and it's just like, okay, all right. I mean, there might be some other teams in baseball that may have something to say about that. So I think that's exciting. So I don't think there's any panic or anything like that. For me, it just goes ahead and it's to support the argument that this could be a competitive season, that it's not just everybody's going to lay down because the Dodgers went ahead and signed all these all-stars.
Did somebody think it was gonna be not a competitive season and they were just gonna plow through everybody?
I feel like when people talk about this Dodger team and like projecting the number of wins that they're gonna have, I do feel like there is that sense that maybe we are putting all the attention on one certain team and we're not acknowledging the fact that the Phillies had a pretty good team already to begin with. And like I said, I really like that move with Lusardo. And who knows what the Phillies are going to do come the trade deadline to maybe shore up that bullpen. But I definitely, they caught my attention this weekend. And it was very good. Anything else that you want to say about the series before we move on to the next topic?
No, I think I mean just Theo had a banner day
Oh
yesterday.
yeah,
3
that's
hits.
another guy who deserves some flores was
Yeah.
Teo.
3 hits, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, 2 runs himself. Like just like for the grief he gets for as much as he strikes out, because we know that he's swing heavy. He does contribute to this team. He's a difference maker. And I think a lot of those runs that we got yesterday, like he was the difference maker in that game.
Absolutely. He almost single-handedly won that game for them. You
I
know,
mean, yeah. Other than that, I think, they do need to get a little better offensively as far as maybe not relying so much on the home run. But other than that, I think, we're just going to see them continue to progress.
okay, let's move on to the hot topic of the day. So, again, at the time that we are recording this, it is Monday. They're starting a series with the Nacionales. But before they started this series with the Nacionales, the Dodgers visited the White House to celebrate their 2024 World Series championship. Mookie showed up there. Everybody, I don't think there was anybody missing.
Except for Freddie, because he's injured.
Federico did not make the trip. So at this point, it was like, I think this is probably the last time that we are going to deal with celebrations about the World Series. I think after this, it is eventually everything is now about this season. But there does seem a very divided reaction to this White House visit. I saw a lot of this, Amie, and I'm not sure if you saw this. A lot of people are relieved that finally this drama is over and we can move on.
Myself included. Yep.
So, yeah, Mookie, I want to give credit to Mookie. I feel like what Mookie said when he decided that he was going to make the trip, and he was doing it for his teammates, because he didn't want to become the story. He did not want to make it about himself. I think that is very commendable. Um, and it seems like that's what a lot of these players did, is they did it for each other. It seems like there were a lot of players on this team that wanted to make this visit, and as a result of that, it seemed like the teammates supported that.
Yeah, I honestly I don't have much to say on the topic myself, because I have my own thoughts and I will keep those to myself. So
Okay. Amy's going to keep it to herself. I'm going to just leave it at this, because it's going to lead me into another story. And that is, when people say that this is tradition and that there's nothing political about this, because I know a lot of the Dodgers organization was saying this was not a political decision. I just want to say this: the White House is representative of the U.S. presidency. The presidency is a political office. So when people say it's not political, that's wrong. It is political, because the presidency is a political office. Now, do we should not be looking at players or teams as our moral barometers. I don't think we live in that era anymore. I think the last time we lived in that was maybe in the 60s, when you had guys like Muhammad Ali who really put their careers on the line for something that they believed in. I think Bill Russell from the NBA. I don't think, I could be wrong, I don't think we found anybody in Major League Baseball that would go to those lengths. So to expect them, as Roland, I want to give a shout out to our listener, Roland, who said, Juan, they're taking your idea that Jackie Robinson, nobody wore a Jackie Robinson jersey. There was no political statement whatsoever. The Dodgers were professional. They showed up. They did what they did. What is going to be very interesting to me is next week we are going to see the Dodgers celebrate Jackie Robinson. I will say this: if anybody has read the article that Kevin Blackistone wrote in the Washington Post today, it was a lot of what Dylan Hernandez has actually already written. Kevin Blackistone said that the Dodgers visiting the White House was blasphemous, but he also called out Major League Baseball because Major League Baseball has made no comment on that. This whole idea of the no comment leads me to this. Amie, did you see what happened in Pittsburgh?
No, I didn't.
So the Pirates had a sign commemorating Roberto Clemente. Now, Roberto Clemente is, many will argue, the best player ever in that organization. And then there, he may be one of the best players ever in all of Major League Baseball. They took down that sign and they replaced it with a beer ad. And there was a lot of
Do we know what the sign originally? What did it?
It was
it like stats
it was
or?
no, it was just the name Roberto Clemente and then 21, his number 21. It was in right field. I'll post it on the before and after.
I saw something come through like a couple days ago on The Athletic, but I didn't see what the sign was.
So it was just commemorating Roberto Clemente because there's this urge to try to retire 21 just the same way they retired Jackie Robinson's number through all of Major League Baseball. So there was quick reaction to that. And I want to set this as an example.
Okay, I see it now. In the outfield, they had like a diamond right near it looks like the right field foul pole, and against the wall, it had Clemente on it. And then they have this 3 times as large beer ad that replaced it.
Right. And so there was a huge reaction to it. And then the Pirates, the team president of the Pirates came out, and I was so impressed by this, said this was a mistake. I own it. He himself, this is my mistake. We're gonna fix this. And they're gonna put the Clemente sign back on. And I was so surprised by this because I was like, wow, a team took accountability. Like this guy took accountability personally and fixed it immediately. And so when I never would have thought that I would have seen the Pirates, the Piratas, that organization who you can criticize for many things, come out and address something so quickly and say it was wrong and we're going to do something right. So I'm going to leave it at that. You guys can read in between the lines from there, in between there. It's just, I believe something needs to be said because saying nothing, I don't think is an option. It's about how it's said. I don't think we should expect athletes to make statements, but when they do, I think we should acknowledge what they're doing. So on that, let's go on to our next topic here, which is Will Smith. Let's do a palate cleanser. Let's make everybody feel good about what Will Smith did. Amie?
So Bill Shaken had posted on Twitter that Will Smith would be auctioning the ball he caught for the last out of the 2024 World Series. So proceeds of that will be going to the Southern California Wildlife Relief. But it's part of a partnership among the foundations for Will Smith, Walker Buehler, who threw the ball, and for the Dodgers. So in kind of this coming up, it just got me thinking when I sent it over to you. If you had caught that ball, it's a historic ball, right? It's it's in the legacy of the 8 World Series the team has now won. Would you keep it or would you auction it as the player who had it in their possession?
I would like to think that I would do what Will Smith did.
Really?
Especially in the circumstances of what has happened to the city of Los Angeles, to be able to do something good with that. Because other than that, what am I going to do? All right, I'll sell it for money for me. All right, maybe let's be more realistic. If I had Will Smith money, I would probably do the same thing as Will Smith. But if I'm poor and this is going to change my life, yeah, I'm selling it, and I'm keeping that money.
See, I think I would keep it and then I would just make a big donation because I'm nostalgic. I would either want to keep that ball or I don't know. I guess is that something that you want to donate to like the Hall of Fame or I don't know. There's like no right answer, because if you keep it, some people look at that as selfish, and I guess this was the best outcome of what you could do with it.
You're a much better human being than I am, Amy, because I think you're right. I mean, probably if you are a true person, you just give that up, give it to the Hall of Fame, put it where other people can go ahead and enjoy it. But there is a part of me that is just like, wait, I have something that people want, and then it can change my life. You
See, and
know,
I'm of the, I think that poor that you just brought up, like, I'm not going to have any other way to see this unless I can get to the Baseball Hall of Fame, and not a lot of people can even afford to do that. So it's like at least putting it somewhere where people can see it versus auctioning it, and then that person either, who knows, maybe they loan it out and they let it go on display, or that person just keeps it in their private collection. Still, it's kind of behind the scenes where, I don't know. There is no right answer. Kudos to him for doing it, and for even being able to donate that to the Southern California Wildlife Relief. I think my nostalgia would just get the better of me, either keeping it or the Baseball Hall of Fame.
I know people will view it as selfish. I really do, but.
But selfish, like you would keep the money, or you would do what he did and
Then
donate
I
it.
would say no. I would sell. Like I said, if I was in a position with Will Smith where I already got my money, I'm already living comfortably, and I can help others, then yeah, sell the money so we can give the money. I mean, sell the baseball so we can give the money to the people who need it, right?
I don't see that as selfish.
But I'm poor and I need
Oh,
money too. So if I can sell the money, I sell this ball and the money comes to me, yeah, I'll take it,
would
and
you,
then
if you got a substantial payout, would you donate some money?
oh yeah, I would do that.
Okay.
I would use
Okay.
like if I'm gonna get like game changing, like life changing money,
Okay. Okay.
yeah, I'm gonna do that, but I'm gonna then use that for good causes, right? I'm
Okay.
gonna go out
Well, then
there.
that's not selfish.
Yeah, I guess that I would go out there and do some philanthropy.
Okay, see, I don't see that as selfish. So see, you're still doing a good thing with your hypothetical World Series ball that you caught.
I appreciate that. Thank you for saving me, saving my soul right there. Let's let's move on to one of Amy's favorite topics, and that is Kiké Hernández and his foul territory interview. Go ahead, because I also have a question for you regarding Mr. Kiké Hernández.
Okay, so this actually was on foul territory 2 weeks ago, but clips started making their way around social media like a day or two ago, which is how I saw it. Um, but it did just address some of the stuff we were talking about earlier in the season. So part of it's kind of an update where he was saying that he was waiting, but nothing was really going on contract wise from other teams, and that LA had let him know, we have a pretty full roster, but here's what we can offer you. We just can't do anything till February 10th. They told him they would understand if a better deal comes his way. He was very candid, and he said, but it never came his way. So while he was open, nobody else really reached out till kind of the last couple days. And so he's figured, you know what, I'm in a good spot to just come back to LA, focus on the game, focus on the fans. And that he did enjoy during like Dodger Fest, where fans were bombarding Dave Roberts, Brandon Gomes, Andrew Friedman with questions about him coming back. So it did make him smile. But he just addressing kind of what we were talking about earlier. So he was looking to come back. He would have fielded other offers, but they just didn't come.
Is there anything else you want to address from that interview?
Yeah, there's a couple things. I just didn't know where you wanted
You
to
go,
interject.
because mine doesn't have to do with the interview, so that's
Okay.
I'll let you go through your interview notes. My follow up has got about something else.
Okay. So, well, he did mention he was a little tight-lipped that he was doing so based on his leadership, that Andrew Friedman had alluded to earlier, in the preseason, that he was responsible for helping some of the players like get into the Padres' heads during the national the division series. He wouldn't go into detail on what he did. He said if those players ever want to come out and say something, that it's their story to tell, but he did help behind the scenes. And then the last thing that he mentioned was they did ask about his glasses, and he mentioned having come off surgery, which we've alluded to a couple times on this show. So he had that double hernia surgery for that sports hernia. He said he was told that the surgery itself would be simple, and he said it was a lot more than what they initially told him. And because he'd been playing injured for a long time, the adjustment period wasn't easy. So even as the season began last year and people were kind of giving him crap, he was still adjusting. He said that it felt like he still needed surgery every day, and he didn't settle down quite till mid-June, which just kind of got me thinking about Miggy Rowe, who just had that same surgery. So I wonder if, was it just Kiké's experience because maybe he waited a little bit too long to have the surgery, or, is that pretty typical? I mean, I know I had surgery a couple years ago and they told me, oh yeah, you're going to be like, you'll be better in 6 weeks. And it was like 9 months later. So I'm just wondering, like, these medical timeframes that are given to people, like, what is the actual real implication? And these guys are playing through it too. So for him to not feel 100% post surgery and then find out that his right eye needed correction, he said that basically getting those glasses not only saved his season, but possibly his career, because much like we talked about last year, he was probably close to getting DFA'd. So just a lot of very candid about a lot of things that happened last year and things that we've touched on, but just getting a little more clarity. So what question do you have?
So my question to you is, before the Doyers went on this road trip to Philadelphia, you know how the Dodgers social media likes to post them boarding the plane?
I did see this, yes.
Okay, so you are aware of this. So my question,
Mhm.
for those, I'm going to let everybody in.
Social media was a little slow. Somebody caught this like last, I want to say Friday evening, and I didn't see this start making the rounds like full force till like yesterday, because my friend had sent it to our unofficial fan club group, and we were already like rolling on Friday.
So for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about,
Careful with your words so I don't have to flip the box.
so Kiké was wearing a hat that it was a hat and a shirt, correct?
Oh, I don't know if it was a shirt. I
Or
was
it was just the
I was
hat?
under the impression it was just a hat that they photoshopped the little circle.
So I will say this. There was something on the hat that the Dodgers did not like. And so they basically photoshopped over the hat and put something else on there.
It was
Now-
just all so the little circle in the middle where ours has like our logo. It was a brownish like label. They just photoshopped like a whole tan or a brown color over it. But as he's boarding the plane, you can see his like mischievous face as he's taking the picture and putting it out.
So this is my two-part question. One, are you okay with the Dodgers photoshopping that?
100%.
And two, is your boy a troublemaker? Is he out there just creating content and wreaking havoc on social media and the internet?
I have a rebuttal for you. Did you
Okay.
not know this? Are you honestly asking me this? Did you not know that he's
Okay.
like he mischievous?
But here's the thing, okay? He came close to being suspended last year for that, the "Are we live?" and then dropping the famous line there. So for me, I know people will say, well, that sounds like not necessarily premeditated, but when you're told you're live and then you still go ahead and do it, you are being a bit rebellious, right?
Sure. But if you are operating under the assumption that some of that stuff runs on a delay and that for compliance purposes with the FCC that will be deleted out even if he said it just to get the impact, like
That's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is you could have just not said what you said after someone told you that you were live, right? You still chose to say it. But for me, after that, he seemed to be he was much tamer. Like, it was almost like they got to him and said, "Hey, dude, you need to tone it down."
did
No,
you not hear the celebration after the parade, his speech?
Yeah, but that wasn't like on national media. Like when
Okay.
he was doing interviews with national media, I felt like he was much tamer. But yes, at the celebration, it was just who he is, right?
Mhm.
So I just thought, because I think your answer to the first part of the question, I do think most people will like the Dodgers represent a brand, and
Mhm.
as they have control as to how they want to be represented. So if one of their players is wearing something that's going to put them in a bad light, then they do have the right to go ahead and do the Photoshop. The same way that this whole thing with the White House is they accept, because there's contradicting information, because there are people, Dave Roberts is saying that players weren't consulted on the visit. But then if you read Dylan Hernandez's piece, Stan Kasten says, and by the way, kudos to Dylan Hernandez because he went straight to Stan Kasten and asked these questions. Stan Kasten said that
About Kike's hat?
no, not about Kiké's hat, about the White House visit.
Okay.
Okay. So Stan Kasten said that the players were consulted about the visit, but Dave Roberts said that the players weren't consulted. The way I'm tying these together is they have control on how they want their team represented. So
Mhm.
if they want the team going to the White House, Mookie being a team player, I am going to the White House. Dave Roberts, team player, we're going to the White House. So that
So what is the issue with the photoshopping of Kike's hat? I don't
I
understand.
think it's because you're going to the AI conversation that's going on right now where we're altering what we're seeing. So when you alter something, what do we know is the truth?
I think in this capacity though, like he played a prank, they caught it. I think it's well within their rights because of the brand to go ahead
Right.
and like they could have let it ride, but again, it's their brand, they're not going to. I feel like he also knew that. You could see his comments on the social media post. Like to me, it was joking. At least that's the tone I read it in. So in that respect, I feel like they almost I don't want to say have a responsibility to bleep it out on his hat, but like you knew they were gonna do it. And
Right. So
like,
I guess that's my thing is for those that are upset, you can't be upset with the
oh,
player.
I guess I didn't realize people were upset about it. People were upset that his hat got photoshopped.
Yeah, because it's one of those things where it's like, can't we let players be themselves and express themselves? And that's, I think, what we're the interesting question is, okay, how can you be a player and express yourself, but at the same time, this is your job. You work for this company. This company, is very protective of their image and how they are viewed.
I don't think that falls into them censoring him though. Like you can be yourself, he was being himself, but because what the hat he wore crossed a professional line, they did blur that out. I don't understand why people would be upset about that. I didn't read anything where people were upset, so I don't know I don't know where you saw it.
The comments that I've read is just that once again, people feel like, all right, it is clear that the players are not certain players are not allowed to be themselves.
That's not being themselves though. So I guess and maybe I come at this a little bit differently. So for everybody who hasn't seen the hat without like going into it was a crass hat in some people's opinion. It was a joke, but it basically I'm gonna tone it down, but it said beehole whisper on it and it had a graphic image. To me, because you're going across that professional line and he is there at work, they have every right to blur that out. That's not him not getting to be himself. He did get to be himself. He made the face. He even made the comment on their social media of like, "Man, I can't believe you like blurred it out or whatever." But to me, again, joking because then Dodgers media came back and commented back at him. And it's the same playful banter he has on most posts that we see. So to me, I don't feel like it was them censoring him in any way because like it wasn't like he was wearing a blue hat or he decided to wear an Angels hat and they were like, "No, you can't be yourself and the Angels are your team, but you just happen to play on ours." It was a crass hat. He knew what he was doing. You saw the look on his face. It's the same thing that you and I have discussed before. I've had conversations with people outside of the podcast where I do situationally, I will curse in real life. I have opinions. I will share probably the
This is
watered
not
down
real life. This is not real
well,
life.
no, but like I may share the watered down version of my opinions on this show because there are implications. I'm also credentialed media. I have to be careful what I say because that also impacts other avenues, not only of this podcast, but my credential with other people, but even just my work in the regular world. There are certain things that we are all held accountable to, and there's a standard. Certain things you can get away with showing your personality. Other things, if you do cross that line a little bit, there are going to be guardrails in place. And to me, this was just the Dodgers looking out for their brand. They didn't punish him. If he had gotten in trouble, I think that would be a different thing. Who knows? Maybe he did. We don't know. But if it's just them blurring it out and continuing to go on and playing with him on social media in the comments, to me, it's no harm, no foul.
And that's another segment of Judging Amie, ladies and gentlemen. We have the final verdict on that. All right, moving on to this story just never well, maybe this might be the end of we have another update on the Profar situation.
Yeah, so they did isolate what he actually popped for, and it was HCG, the human chorionic gonadotropin. I'm not going to even be able to say that, gonadotropin. So we'll just HCG. It's basically a masking agent used to restart natural testosterone production after a steroid cycle. And so that description I got came from John Heyman on Twitter. He also referenced that Manny Ramirez was what he popped for when he failed. But it's just been interesting to see everybody's takes on social media about that. Foul Territory had put out a post of, should players that test positive for performance enhancing drugs, should they be stripped from their awards? And I've seen a lot of the comments from other people going a step further and asking, well, what about the contracts that are signed by these players? Because yes, he will get paid for the entire season, less those 80 games that he's suspended. But the Braves signed him thinking that he would, in good faith, be able to play. Not only are the Braves, it's a detriment to them, but those players thought that they would have that teammate to help carry them through to complete the puzzle. So they're suffering for his actions. Like, do we have a different way to handle it versus like, well, he's just suspended and, pick up the pieces?
Well, in a way, I feel like it is addressing the contract because he's losing money.
Yeah.
He's not the
But
Braves.
wouldn't you rather have a player that could play all season?
But that's the risk that you run, because I'm sure the Dodgers would have loved to have had Trevor Bauer during that time period.
That's fair. Julio Urias. That's fair.
Same thing. Sure, the Dodgers would have loved to have those guys, but that's the risk that you run when you sign these players, right?
When you sign humans.
Yeah, when you sign players and you just think, okay, they're at the back of a baseball card and they're going to do what they always do, and you don't factor in exactly what you just said. Oh, you mean they have a life? They do things outside of the stadium, and that is, again, it's one of those things where I feel like this all ties in together, right? Where as much as you want to say you have control over, hey, this is what I'm getting, I'm buying this, and this is what I'm going to get, you have situations where Kiké is wearing a hat, where it's now nowhere is it the same situation as Trevor Bauer, but it's one of those things where when they signed, did they think, oh, I got to worry about what he's going to do off the field now? Like, what's
Well,
going?
and he's alluding to stuff that they did in the during the division series and getting into other players' heads. Like, to what extent? Like, what are you
Yeah,
doing?
like what? Like, and that's one of those things, right?
What
Where
about awards, though? Do you think they should be stripped of any awards earned at that
that
way?
I do, and you, the prime example I think is Ryan Braun. There's a lot of people that feel Ryan Braun has Matt Kemp's MVP, and if you were using that season that you won an award, I think it is fair to have the award taken away from you because you were cheating.
Mhm.
That was not, stuff like that. So that I think is fair. In terms of, is there any other way that we can handle this? Like I said, it does impact the contract because they're not getting paid. The Braves aren't, like, the Braves are saving money. Actually, they're saving 80 games worth of salary.
But they've got a hole in their roster.
They have a hole in their roster, and that's, at that point, I think if you're the Braves, you got to treat it like an injury. Like, if he's hurt, we're going to have a hole in the roster, and now we got to find a way to deal. So there are things that I just think, as a team, force majeure. It's an act of God, and you can't control it. You got to find a way to deal with it. But
Ringworm will get you every time.
yeah, I just don't know any other way. I like I said, I think the award one is more straightforward, But
Mhm.
other than a suspension, I don't know what else, because this is a first offense. Like, we're all learning this as we go along. Like, we never knew, what do you do when there's two offenses with Julio Urias, right? Because you would never think that someone, after getting busted the first time, would do it again. But
Can we
there's
stop learning? I'm good. I don't wanna learn about those things anymore.
yeah,
Can we just have the good side of baseball and pretend the bad side doesn't exist?
there's always a first for something, I guess.
And in
Um,
some cases, a second, right?
And speaking of first, we also learned what it looks like to hold press conferences in a minor league ballpark for a major league team. Correct, Amy?
Yeah, so the formerly known as Athletic A's, the Sacramento A's, the whatever you wanna call them A's, are holding their pressers in a shed. So, I mean, it's if by shed standards, I guess it's pretty large, but there are some images that were on social media. Uh-oh. Well, oh, we're losing wisdom again, 3rd
No,
time.
no, I'm
Drink,
sorry. I'm sorry.
people, drink.
Yeah, I love that you said shed wisdom. I didn't know that shed wisdom was a thing, but go ahead.
Well, I mean, I guess some might be larger, smaller, I don't know. This one fits the media in it, but I don't know. Just the fact that it's gonna be like 100 plus degrees in the summer. I don't know if you've been up there during the summer months. Living up there, it was brutal. I cannot imagine going to do scrums in
I,
that shade.
I feel like I got a glimpse of it. I mean, I was born in Central California, so I realized how hot it would get in Central California. But when I was in Seattle this past weekend, it was 60 degrees and it felt like it was in the 90s. And I'm assuming that's maybe what it feels like up in Sacramento and that neck of the woods.
Oh.
I did
I don't
not
know,
realize.
110-degree weather, it was like I used to be a summer kid, especially growing up down here. Being up there, like, you just spend all your time indoors anywhere that has air conditioning because the minute you walk out, it's just hell. I to me, not only just seeing them in a shed just tells me how unprepared we already knew that they were for the season, but as we see the collective bargaining agreement looming over us, just the fact that expansion teams and whatever Manfred wants his legacy to be, the fact that we still have 2 teams in minor league parks is just astounding to me, and now, you don't even have facilities for the media, so you're holding your scrums in a shed.
I mean, Amy, the Dodgers do not go to Sacramento this year. But could you
No.
imagine if they did, with the amount of media that travels with the Dodgers?
That's
Could
what
you
I was thinking when I saw that picture.
could you imagine them all being in that shed for a press conference?
Well, they wouldn't fit, first of all.
No, and it would just, I don't think they
The
foresaw.
interview room gets hot in the summer, and they have air conditioning, but when you pack all those bodies into one area, like, that's at least inside, underground, like, when you're just it's a like, so it's white, it looks like a large shed you could probably get, like, an industrial size one at, like, Home Depot or something like that, right? I'm sure it's higher quality, but with the sun just beating down on that, like, it's just gonna even if you had air conditioning in there, you're just gonna cook.
I'm pretty sure nobody saw that issue, because I'm pretty sure no one gave it a second thought, because it's not like the media is a priority, for teams or for Major League Baseball. I don't think for as far as they're concerned, the less people there is better for them, because they don't want to have to deal with any of the questions and stuff like that. But it was a bad look. It was a bad scene. I just
That
immediately.
on top of the picture that your compadre sent where he was in the stadium watching the game and it was just so tiny.
Yeah, my compadre actually was sent me a picture. He was in Sacramento for an A's and Cachorros game. He was sitting behind home plate, and look, it was a Major League Baseball game in a minor league ballpark. And like Amy said, we have two teams operating in that, so it's
It's charming,
there you go.
in the
It's
words of Manfred.
it's charming. Speaking of your boy Manfredi, did you see what he said about the torpedo bats?
I did, yes. He's all for it. So I guess, and this is something that I was messaging you about mainly because as we keep seeing more injuries and whatnot, I'm all like, if you want to have the torpedo bats, they fall within the rules, fine. Manfred's saying that they're absolutely good for baseball. He believes that issues like the torpedo bat and the debate around it demonstrate the fact that baseball still occupies a unique place in our culture because people get into a complete frenzy over something that's really nothing at the end of the day, which a lot of people took offense that he called it nothing. So I mean, this guy just piece of metal winners, ladies and gentlemen. I just like, do you screen what you say? Like maybe write some notes, bro. I just if we're gonna have all this stuff, which is fine, like just bring back the sticky stuff and help the pitchers. Like I don't.
Well, they want offense. They want offense. So I don't know if they would ever bring back the sticky stuff, but people have no problems with high scoring games. That's what they want. It seems that the casual fan, I mean, the average fan, there's very few people like me that love low scoring pitching duels. It's people want to see runs.
I don't need to see an exorbitant amount. Like if you bring back the sticky stuff and that keeps people healthy and we still have relatively exciting games, have these innovations though. Like why are we some people said like why were we not doing this? I think you even said it last week. Like what took so long?
Well, I think
If it falls within the rules.
The frenzy has died down. I haven't heard any more talk about it. So maybe it was just the fact that the Brewers pitching was not very good that weekend against the Yankees. And that's why they gave up so many runs. But like
well, the
I said,
article
I
I
don't
read
think they
was
have enough data on these bats.
they don't, and they're saying that like people like Volpe, he's benefiting from it, but maybe he's also benefiting from a tweak to his swing, changing some of the mechanics. They did say in that article, so I saw it on Yahoo Sports, but essentially that like Bellinger, his production has fallen off. So there's a couple players who were using it, and it's not been as effective as that inaugural weekend where we heard about it. But I guess for me, people have been using these on and off for a couple of years, and I think Manfred even pointed out players have been tweaking their bats. They've been moving the sweet spot around. So this isn't anything new. It's just for whatever reason this caught the fancy of the population at the right time. So
absolutely.
Did you hear the last minute news last night that Vlad Guerrero Jr. finally got a deal in place after his deadline came and went with the Blue Jays?
Good for Vlad. Get your money, Vlad. You
14 years, 500 million. It starts in 2026, and they did make sure to mention no deferrals.
Hey, finally somebody was willing to take the Blue Jays money. So good for Vlad. Get your money, get paid.
He will be like that will be his team till it's not his team.
Exactly, until they trade him. So he's there. Anything else before we wrap things up?
Can I just share my cute little Funko Pop that I got this weekend?
Sure.
This was my gift from my baseball family. Did you know that Funko Pop you could make your own? You could personalize it?
I did see that. And I didn't want to bury the lead, ladies and gentlemen, but there is a certain birthday coming up. I'm not going to say when, but there is a certain birthday coming up, and we will celebrate it accordingly. But let's just say
we will.
In terms of an acknowledgement. Because said person has already been celebrating it. So
I celebrate all month long. Are you a birthday day of celebrator and then you're done?
I'm a birthday denier. I do not celebrate my birthday. I do not.
So you and I average out because I will celebrate all month long. And I was just having this conversation with my best friend. It's not because I want attention, because I actually don't like to be the center of attention. I just love making memories all month long with friends of like, this is a perfect excuse to like, let's get together, let's go to lunch, let's go to dinner, whatever. And let's just make some memories. And so we'll be doing that all month long.
Hey,
get in where you fit in.
That's right. You celebrate for me. So there we go. It does even.
I will. By the time your birthday rolls around later in the year,
I don't have to worry about celebrating because it's already been celebrating.
Exactly.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Okay, well, that's going to do it then for this episode. For those of you that have been listening to us on the audio portion, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast, rate us, write us a review, help spread the word about the show. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, hit that notification button, give us a thumbs up, leave us comments. We love engaging with you. And most importantly, make sure you're following us on social media on X at BB Shangri-La, on Instagram, YouTube, and Bluesky at Baseball Shangri-La. She is Amie Cuevas. I am Juan Ramirez. Nos despedimos con un beso. Amie, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye, people.